This is Kate, 48 hours before the midterm presentation. Kate is happy. She's at a wedding with her friends, about to celebrate with her friends. Be like Kate. This is Kate, 12 hours before the midterm presentation. Kate is not happy. She is suffering from the lingering effects of celebrating with her friends. This is Kate, 4 hours and 1 minute before the midterm presentation. Kate is happy again. Be like Kate. Unfortunately, this is Kate exactly 4 hours before the midterm presentation when she realizes that she has that same midterm presentation in 4 hours. Don't be like Kate. Fortunately for you all, we're going to walk you through what to do if you find yourself in a similar position as Kate, which is you have a limited amount of time to prepare for a big presentation. And to start us off, Amit's going to walk us through what to do in hour 1. 4 hours left until the presentation.
Thank you, Will. So it's game time, and the clock is ticking. And if you're like most of us, you're probably feeling anxious. So the first order of business is to make sure we change your status from being anxious to being in a state of flow. Now, by show of hands, how many people know here what is the flow state of mind? Awesome. For those who don't know, it is a state of mind that is fully immersive and helps you focus at the job at your hand. How do you get from a state of mind? A lot of people also refer to it as a state of being in the zone. So today, I'm going to share a technique with you that will allow you to get in the zone in less than 5 minutes. And it's called box breathing. It's a technique that's used by US Marines to go into a state of focus, feel calm, and activate their critical thinking. And this is how it works. You basically breathe in, hold, breathe out, and hold again. And you do each of these steps 4 seconds each. Let's try it together. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, and hold again. Awesome. So now that you're in this ninja mode, let me walk you through the 3 steps of building your presentation. Number 1, always start with your aim. And don't just think about your aim, write it down. It's going to save you a ton of time in the future. Number 2, pick your 3 key takeaways. Research shows that people only retain 20% of the information that you share with them. So you want to make sure that you're absolutely clear about your takeaways. And number 3, create a storyboard to limit the scope of your presentation. You don't have enough time, so you want to make sure you don't rely on research, but what you know already. And number 3, and most important, when it comes to visuals, less is more. Use the old age principle of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. In summary, limited content told more confidently is better than a ton of details that you're not comfortable with. So with that said, we have 3 hours left, and I'm going to pass it on to Will to walk you through the content.
So we just heard about some initial steps you can take to ideate on what you're going to say. But equally important is ideating on how are you going to make that content come alive for the audience? How are you going to make it memorable? And there's 3 things I want to encourage you to focus on, which is a lot of things we've actually learned about in this class. The first thing is you need to have a hook. I want to give you 2 examples. Suppose I started a presentation by saying, hello, my name is William Faulkner, and I want to tell you about a skydiving experience I once had. Versus, I was 1,500 feet above sea level, my first string had failed, and I was falling about 400 feet per second, needing 1,000 feet for the chute to open. Meaning I had about 2 seconds to save my life. Clearly the second is much more effective at, shall we say, parachuting the audience into the story. Make sure you have a good hook. The second is find a good story. Now, I'll admit that it's very hard to ideate stories when you're in a time pressure situation. And therefore, what we have found the best way to have a good story and a time constraint is actually to have a story bank before you actually reach that time constraint. And I can speak for personal experience. A good way to have that story bank is to think about the people, places, or things in your life that have created the person you are today. A great example is applying to Stanford Business School. We had to think about what matters to us most and why. And it is from that ideation process that I can pull from my head right now 3 or 4 personal stories to get an emotional connection with you, the audience, regardless of the topic. I can change the story to meet the topic. So the second thing that you need to be able to realize is that you need a story bank that you can pull from at any point in your life to deliver to an audience on any topic. The second thing you need to think about is audience engagement. And that's really dependent on what kind of audience are you speaking to. For an intimate class setting like this, audience engagement could be more than just raising your hand. It could actually be following up with people. If JD raises his hand in response to a question, I can call on him to actually vocalize and tell me why he raised his hand. I can even get movement, people moving to one side of the room or the other. For a bigger audience, obviously that's going to be more challenging, and so maybe you can just rely on things like raising your hand. So the 3 things I would focus on in the third hour: creating a hook, finding a story, and figuring out how you're going to engage your audience. Now that we have 2 hours left, Akhil is going to talk about how you should think about content.
Now, the good news is that if you've been following diligently along, you've already avoided the #1 pitfall that people make when they're designing slides under time pressure. And that is getting stuck in design limbo. We have all been there before. You are working and reworking your slides over and over again. You're stuck in your head trying to figure out exactly what you want to say. Meanwhile, the minutes are flying by and you're getting nowhere fast. The secret to getting out of design limbo is to reverse the process. Create your content first, design your slides last. If you do this, you will go from spending 75% of your time designing your slides to 25% of your time designing your slides. Now, had I not followed this advice, I probably would have put together a slide like what you see on the left. Now, it's not terrible. I mean, it even has a pie chart, and we know how much JD loves pie charts. But the slide on the right is better. I used a photo slideshow minimalist template to create the slide on the right. Now, you might be thinking it's better because it's more aesthetically pleasing, it's simpler, and those things are true. But that's not the reason it's better. The reason it's better is that while the slide on the right took me 10 minutes to prepare, the slide on the left took me 10 seconds to prepare. And when you're in a time crunch, time is everything. Now, 10 seconds is awfully fast. How did I design a slide in 10 seconds? The answer is I didn't use PowerPoint. PowerPoint's not a great software for designing beautiful slides quickly. Instead, I used a tool called Haiku Deck. And there are other tools as well, like Beautiful.ai. These are online pieces of software that are great for minimalist templates design when it comes to slides. Use one of these templates and you'll save yourself a ton of time in the end. Okay, we have 1 hour left. We're at the final part of our presentation. Kate's going to walk us through what to do next.
Now you have an hour left to your presentation. What should you do? Yes, you gotta practice. Now we will give you 3 important tips to help you practice efficiently. First tip is to practice opening. Even if you have 10 minutes to prepare, you still have time to practice opening. The reason why I'm stressing the importance of opening is because if you can practice and perfect the first few minutes of your presentation, your stress for the presentation will go down significantly. And the rest of the talk will fall into place much more easily. So now, how to practice opening? So our tip is to remember first few sentences so that those come out crisply and confidently. The second tip is to try to memorize what to say, not how to say. It's really important for you to have those anchor points that will keep you on track throughout the presentation. More specifically, only memorize key phrases that you want to stick to and key interaction points with the audience, such as asking a question at the start of the talk. The final tip to practice efficiently is to try 3 rounds of practice, focusing on content, vocal, and visual. Remember, when you practice vocal and visual part, exaggerate everything. Talk louder, try hand gesture, use longer pauses, and try power pose. This will feel very unnatural to you, but to audience, you will look much more confident. Now it's presentation time. In 4 hours, we entered the right frame of mind. We picked out our content. We prepared our slides, and we practiced in record time. If I had access to these tips earlier, I would have avoided a lot of stress for my midterm presentation. And maybe earn a big hug from Alice. So in your individual practicum, if you find yourself having just a few hours to prepare for your presentation, we hope that you'll incorporate some of our advice.